Alright, well, here we are again. And this is just because the reason that it is, if this is information that helpful, by all means use it. If it's potentially harmful, let it go. If it's something that you feel needs to be corrected or untrue, feel free to weigh in. Ultimately, in the end, though, is to raise money for, I don't know, 6 things. So I need $5,000 each. I don't know, no more than $100,000 donations per person. That's too much. Well, it's not never too much, but I just don't want donations to go that high. But even if you got small stuff like 50 cents, just throw that in too. Because it's a foreign cause to save these dog parks and ship these books to South Africa because people want them and desire them. So anyway, mostly textbooks is what they want. Textbooks, old electronics, stuff that we ain't even hardly using. Anyway, here's this next part of the book, which is in the book of The Magician's Companion, a practical encyclopedic guide in magical and religious symbols. Here's the cover of it. And here we are on this chapter here. Well, it's not numbered. Identity, consciousness, and magic. Everything that exists can be described as the interaction of forces through space and time, reviewed as strands of thread running through the space-time continuum. They form knots which human beings think of as objects, events, other people, etc. We judge that a thing is an individual entity, conceptual or otherwise, by its continuity of pattern. We define its identity by naming the set of qualities that constitute its pattern. I say I am a writer, you are a reader, this is a book, because this is how people have learned to communicate with one another. Even though the forms and the concepts that make up language and all symbol systems are purely creations of the human imagination, since all of my perceptions are thoughts are the result of my being who I am, and not someone else, or a whale, or a tree, or some other thing, they are only images or simulacra of the underlying nominal reality. Yet these creations are only images or of our nature and imagination, may be manipulated so as to achieve our will in what we perceive as the real world. And this is the essence of magic. Magic may be described as a body of techniques used to consciously alter the perception of identity. In the case of traditional operations of magic, such as the evocation of spiritual entities, the magician, in a sense, uses definition to create identity, to cause manifestation. O, example, name of spirit, comma, thou spirit of example, attributes of association of the spirit, thou who art, example, physical description of the spirit, by my power as, example, name of magician, I command you to appear before me now and do my will. While most evocations are most complex and use magical symbol systems, the above example gives a rough idea of the linguistic structure employed for spells intended to alter the outer world, such as blessings, healings, bindings, curses, and other thaumaturgy. The magician reverses the process, making use of identity to redefine the object of the spell. The theurgy and the other being, oriented magic and magician alters the perception of identity of him or herself. This type of operation often involves God forms. And you know what's interesting is there is a lowercase in that, and I just want to show you when it says refers to God forms in lowercase. Remember, Jah, I Selassie, living I Selassie. It's in uppercase. Why? Because he's deity. Deity being God, Jesus Christ, and deity. Holy Spirit, uppercase, and deity. Empress, my king, in uppercase, deity. You know what I mean? Like, don't you put it in lowercase, there it is. Something that needs introspection, okay? Think about it. But it does have self capitalized and Godhead capitalized, which in a sense is true, because on earth, I believe this is heaven, but again, part of, I don't know, I don't want to get into that. But continuing on. Brandon, it was kind of embarrassing, a little bit rambly there, but here we go. In theurgy and other being-oriented magic, the magician alters the perception of identity of him or herself. This type of operation often involves God forms or deific aspects considered to be intermediate between self and Godhead. Partaking of the host in the Christian Eucharist is intended to bring about this type of transformation of self-identity, and any entity can also be viewed as a system that processes information. The smallest action of energy is also an exchange of information. In this sense, even a rock could be said to know at least something about weight and solidity. If nothing else, everything is intelligent to some degree, though this doesn't necessarily mean that everything is intelligent in the same way we are or would have much to say to us. Intelligence, it seems, is a function of complexity. The more complex an entity is, the more information and energy it can produce. People can be said to process information on four main levels: the physical, the subconscious, the conscious, and the supraconscious. With an asterisk, and if we go down to the bottom, it says, to clarify, these categories are fairly arbitrary, but I thought it was an accessible way to discuss the subject. A chart comparing various models of the components of consciousness may be found in the article Model 10, Subtle Anatomy. Out of the interaction of the first three levels of structure comes an adaptable set of thousands of routines that combine to make up what most of us think of as the self. Most of us have several selves which divide and control among them, such as the professional self, the family self, the social self, and so on. One approach to personal development is to centralize control of all other levels in one self-programmer, meta-programmer, creating a conscious hierarchy. Beyond these first three levels, there are programs or patterns perceived as transcending the individual as archetypal, such as deities or archangels. If these patterns are further unified, one may arrive at the concept of God, the Creator, center, and source. Some view the transpersonal level and the superconscious. The actions of this level include intuition, direct knowledge, dhyana, and synchronicity. The sum of all these levels of programs and meta-programs could be said to constitute one's world view. Constitute one's worldview, the interface between the I and thou, the substance of the self, and separates us from the all. Which is interesting because people already speak without separation, saying I and I, I and I, Empress Men in there too, I and I, it's all one. Essentially we have the ability to program any model of the universe we can conceive or symbolize inside ourselves, and to travel through our own models as if real. Of course, each person's worldview is real to him or her. This is important because as we change our models of reality, the self reflects this ability by changing appropriately to match the new territory. As the Hermetic axiom says, as above, so below. In the same way that we can travel inside our models, inside our heads, we can also travel outside, or be the outside of our model, of the universe, while still inside our own head. Using this type of meta-program, one experiences union with God, joining with the Creator concept. Here, one can so attenuate the self that it may disappear, as in the Buddhist conception of nirvana. many worldviews are possible, perhaps an infinite number, and being able to change worldviews opens up near infinite possibilities. As we change our programming, we change our perceptions and limitations as well. Magic provides systematic approaches to changing worldviews based upon our structure as human beings and our ability to use symbols and language. The models cataloged in this book are the programming languages of the magician, each one representing a slightly different worldview. I hope that this book will not only help people to understand the models of the magician and mystics of the past, but will also enable them to design new symbols and words, new worldviews of their own. Alright, and remember, no donations greater than $100,000, just practical use donations, any textbooks that are helpful in education, any textbooks that teach African history would be probably good if you have them, and you read them, and you're done with them, and pay it forward. You know, I think the people that is my main social group, they probably got some of that going on. You know, I'm sure. I hang out with, like, my family. I represent some interesting people, so if they got it, you know, flaunt it or whatever. So the next one is going to be on axioms. This is the next chapter, but there's a break. I'm turning it off and I'm stopping. So, but again, I plan to do this video actually just as a quick afterthought with Gina Yvonne, and I'm going to present it to her because I believe that she has insight and she's in communion with God. I love listening to her, and I really knew that when I honestly got saved. And I look right in the camera. I'm gonna say this. When I got saved, she was the one there for me, and because she's unafraid and God-fearing at the same time. Hold on, that's